All right, everybody, we are live following UFC Vegas 60, and normally we think about what could be nicknames for some of these UFC cards heading into them. We clearly have a nickname for UFC Vegas 60 coming out of it. The night of gnarly cuts. And we saw him in back-to-back fights, some really nasty ones. And in the end, Cory Sandhagen opened up one on Song Yadong. The doctor gave Song Yadong a couple of chances to continue on, but after that fourth round, we knew the doctor wasn't going to let him go into the fifth. And with that, Cory Sandhagen bounces back with a big win. Doctor stoppage, fourth round, TKO for the Sandman. And he wants a big fight. We'll see what happens. But thank you for joining us. I am Mike Heck. And I don't think there's anybody happier in this room right now, and maybe watching, than Jed Meshew about the result of this fight. And we'll get into that in a moment. He's doing the happy dance. We'll have him explain in a second. And joining us this week is the freshly shaven José Youngs. There he is. How are you, my friend?
Blessed life. Blessed life.
Best life. Jed, tell the people why you're doing the happy dance.
Dude, I'm vibing tonight. I had a great evening. Let's be honest, this wasn't the best card. We called it going in. I would say it exceeded my expectations, but not that it did very well. But you know what did do very well? My bank account, because I killed it on this whole card. I went 7-1 on my no bets barred picks. The one being Pat Sabatini, and I was texting Connor. We did not know about the tragedy for Damon Jackson, and there's zero chance I would have bet against that man had I known what he was dealing with. Because why would you? You saw what happened. I'm sure we'll talk about that fight like that. So I had a great no bets bar. And on the gambling column, my plus 2,500 long shot of the week, Cory Sandhagen by TKO in the fourth round. I don't know if you guys know that. A stoppage cut that doesn't start the fifth, fourth round TKO, baby. So I'm doing great. I'm going to buy a steak and celebrate.
Good. Well, there you go. Enjoy that steak. Well deserved. Jose, we'll go to you. Let's talk. I mean, you're a high-level martial arts kind of guy, and we got it in this main event. We knew we were going to get it heading into this main event. Cory Sandhagen, Song Yadong. Very interesting fight. And for those who don't know, the scorecards were very, very interesting because had the doctor allowed Song Yadong to go out in round 5, had Song won that round, he would have won the fight because two judges had it 2-2 going into the fifth. One judge had Sandhagen up 3-1. So had that fifth round happen and Song Yadong dug deep to win it, he would have gotten the biggest win of his career. But didn't happen. We didn't see the fifth round. What did you think of the fight? What did you think of Cory Sandhagen, Jose, bouncing back? And in my opinion, a pretty must-win situation for him, having back-to-back losses and seeing what this division looks like right now.
Yeah, it was definitely must win. The fight ruled. I gave Song Yadong the first round. I just think he landed I think he just landed more damaging strikes, while Cory Sandhagen was much more dynamic. And there's a lot of flashy movements. I think he threw like 4 or 5 flying knees, a spinning roundhouse kick. But Song kind of saw them coming and adjusted, and Cory didn't really land anything like massive in the first round. Song Yadong did. So I gave him the first round. From there, I think Cory Sandhagen just kind of picked it up every single round, especially with that eye cut over Song Yadong's eye. He made fantastic adjustments along the fight. Like Cory Sandhagen clearly was trying to do his thing with the quick lateral movements and the dynamic movements. But as soon as he saw that cut and he just teed off on it with the elbows, because he was throwing that flying knee a lot. He was throwing a lot of kicks, and Song Yadong was timing them and avoiding them. And even Daniel Cormier was like, Cory Sandhagen should really threaten the takedown and then go with the knee, because then he might catch Song with between the eyes. But as soon as he landed an elbow and he saw he could take advantage within the distance, and he adjusted his game plan to no longer fighting at range but fight closely with elbows and knees and everything, Cory Sandhagen just took off from there, and he just proved that he is very easily one of the top 5 bantamweights in the world. Who he fights next, I'm sure we'll talk about, but I had Cory Sandhagen up 3-1. I get the 2-2, maybe the second or third round for Song Yadong, but I think round 1, I think I very clearly scored for Song Yadong, but I had 3 on Cory Sandhagen.
Jed, what did you think of the fight? And who did you learn more about in this fight? Did you learn more about Cory Sandhagen with his back kind of against the wall? Or did you learn more about Song Yadong? Because had he won the 5th round, he would have arrived. And we felt pretty consistently that had Song Yadong won this fight, it would have been because he arrived and took that big leap. And he was very close to doing it tonight, considering what scorecards looked like.
This is going to sound really cliche, and it is, and I'm okay with that. This is one of the very rare times where I genuinely don't feel like either guy lost. Obviously, one guy wins and loses in the record books. One guy gets double paychecks, but this is the best possible outcome because had Song ended up winning that fight, I actually don't think he would have arrived in the same way that I envisioned it, right? He would have showed some things that were good and that he is still making a progression, but it wouldn't have been this huge quantum leap that sort of I envisioned was necessary for him to win the game outright. So I think, as weird as it sounds, him taking this loss in this way still showed me all those same things. And it's okay because he's only 24. This is a cut stoppage loss. Totally a real loss, legit, but it's not the same as getting stunted on or outclassed. Like things didn't break his way entirely. And if they fought that back, honestly, the betting odds are going to be a lot closer. It's going to be a much closer fight. But I learned a ton about Cory Sandhagen. He looked great. Like he didn't look as good or as dynamic as he has in many of his other fights, but we got to see the machinations of his game in a way that we haven't really seen as much. We saw, as Jose pointed out, the adjustments he made, figuring out the distances he could operate in. And then beyond that, when it really became evident, okay, this fight has a time on it. Like this fight is not going the full distance because that cut is that way. We saw him fight in a way to shorten that clock as much as possible while still staying as safe as possible. He would stay all the way out, use that distance, use that range, poke with the jab. We saw him go to the jab a ton more. I mean, he used it a lot anyway, but especially in the middle to later parts of that fight, he is just keeping that lead hand as a blocker, as a buffer. So because Song ran out of tools, Song ran out of options to close the distance, to land the power strikes he was landing earlier in the fight. And Cory would either hit reactive shots on him to really, I think as Cormier was saying, really off kilter what Song's trying to do in his come forward, or he's just feeding him with the lead hands. We saw a bunch of little small adjustments from Cory that were awesome. Like they were really good. Now, I'm not sure those will carry water against the top guys in the division that he's already lost to, but it's great to see that. It's great to see he has that. It's great to see that he's still totally at his fastball. I don't think anybody thought he was going to fall off, but he's still hitting the prime of his career, and he stayed in the conversation, right? Like he's going to get to fight probably Marlon Vera. Like he's probably fighting Cheeto next. That's probably what's up. That fight's going to rule. So everybody wins here. It was a really good outcome all around and a really good fight.
Do you agree with that, Jose? Do you think we just go Chito Vera versus Cory Sandhagen, but we also have Merab Dvalishvili who beat Jose Aldo? He could fight Jose Aldo if he wants to go to Brazil and fight Jose Aldo. There's lots of guys he could fight here. Rob Font, maybe at the beginning of next year. All those fights kind of make sense, but is there anybody that sticks out to you? Because another 2 wins and there's a very good chance he could be fighting for a title depending on who's the champion.
I think we need to see how these fights coming up play out before we can really match make. Like I get why people want to see the Aldo fight and the Dominic Cruz fights of the world for Cory Sandhagen, but if he wants to keep moving up, he's going to have to fight guys coming off wins that are still ranked. So I guess realistically, it's got to be Merab versus Chito. Don't really care which one. I just want both of those fights, to whichever one happens, to be a 5-round main event. But because I'm also under the assumption, like in this whole scenario, like if Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, he's going to get the next title shot. I think that's pretty obvious.
No question.
If Petr Yan wins, if Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling win, they're not going to do that third fight anytime soon, I don't think. Maybe Yan needs one more fight, and then maybe he fights Cheeto and I know he has a lot of beef with Merab, so maybe they try to do Merab versus Yan, and then they can do Cheeto versus Sandhagen. Or if O'Malley wins and TJ Dillashaw wins, or there's some controversy, maybe they try to do Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley too. Because I mean, that's honestly, of all the fights that make that sell in terms of cross appeal, I'm going to assume it's Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera, considering Chito Vera has become very popular and Sean O'Malley has the most crossover appeal of all of these bantamweights we're saying, and he's not even a top 5 bantamweight in the world. So I just think we need to see how a couple of these fights play out, because even Adrian Yanez is kind of sitting out there. I know he was supposed to fight Rob Font before that didn't happen. Yeah, a lot of fun fights. Selfishly, I want to see Chito versus Cory Sandhagen. I just think that's a striker's delight, but I'm not going to say no to any of these, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if they do Giannis Font next year, cool. I know Font's out till at least
who's
March
gonna
at this
fight?
point. So.
Who's going to fight Aldo in Brazil? Who's going to bite that bullet?
Because
I want to see. There's no way. I see. I want that, but I don't think Dominic Cruz is going to Brazil just after he got his face caved in.
Maybe not.
I could see like a Ricky Simone. I could see like a Ricky Simone type jumping on that opportunity.
No one. No, stop talking about this. Nobody gets to fight Jose Aldo. That's not Dominic Cruz. If it's going to be his last one or close to his last one, he's not fighting Ricky and Simone. That's an awful thing for us.
Well, it's also tough because even with this bantamweights, because Frankie Edgar has also said the next fight's probably it, and I also want to see Frankie Edgar versus Dominic Cruz really badly.
Yeah,
I don't know which one I want.
That just won't happen because of time. Because doesn't Frankie want to fight at MSG?
Yeah,
I think that one's there's just no chance. Just give Dominic a bunch of money to go to Brazil and fight Aldo next year. It's awesome. Let's do that.
Yep, don't hate that at all. You could do Adrian Yanez versus Cody Garbrandt. I like that idea as well.
Wow, you want to get Cody dead, huh?
Listen, we tried with this Ronnie Yaya thing not once but twice. It's done. It's over. We need to move on. We need to turn the page.
What about Jose Aldo versus Cody Garbrandt in Brazil? Still bombs at each other.
I accept that one as well. That's the best second option for Dominic Cruz. Don't do Cory Sandhagen, Jose Aldo. That's nonsense.
Jed, which cut was worse? Song Yadong's or Gregory Rodriguez's?
I think from an actual fight medical standpoint, I am not a physician. I am a doctor. I am not a medical doctor. I don't know which one is worse. I would assume that Song Yadong's was worse because it is a gaping chasm directly over his eyeball and clearly was pouring blood into his eyeballs during that fight. So I would assume that is worse. But DC said it, or maybe it was Felder, and it's probably not medically correct, but it feels correct that I don't know, man. Robocop's nose might have just fallen off his face if that fight kept going much longer, because it's just all right here. It's the whole top of his nose. It's a gash. I've never seen that cut in combat sports. I've been watching this 20 years. I was astonished they let that fight continue. That one feels like it's going to be way shittier to recover from. I don't know if that's true or not. But if I had to pick which one of those I'd rather have now during a fight, give me Robocops because that felt way less obtrusive. But for right now, if you had to give me one of those, give me Song Yadong's. That's just stitches right there. I have a scar in my eyebrow for the rest of my life. That seems okay.
Dana White just posted on his IG story what Rodriguez's cut looks like now, with the doctor kind of holding it open.
I don't want it.
Horrible.
I don't want it. There's a reason I'm not a medical doctor.
It's so bad.
Wow.
It's so bad. Did you see it, Jose?
You can literally see it. You can see his skull.
Oh, come on, man.
You did it.
You can see his skull. You can see the tendons.
Damon put it in the Slack. You put it right there in the Slack.
Whatever, dog. Yeah, I also not for nothing. I like how Dan just calls him Greg, just Greg Rodrigues. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
That's kind of awesome, actually. I'm pretty in on that.
Greg Rodrigues.
I don't agree with Dan on a lot, but that's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Actually, all that.
He's no longer Gregory. He's now a man who goes by Greg.
That's tremendous. I'm calling him Greg from now on.
Greg
Cop. Of course,
Stop posting this. What the hell, Sean? Oh, everybody's posting this image, and it's scarring me.
Turn off social media.
I changed my opinion, Mike. Whatever waffling I was doing, no. Robocop's cut is worse. Unequivocally worse.
You mean Greg's?
Yes, Greg.
Greg's cut.
Greg
Yeah,
Greg got the worst of the cuts. And the fact that he came back and won that fight is outlandish. That dude's awesome.
Jose, I mean, come on. That first round was wild without the cut. And then just to see, it was like a roadmap on his face. It was like the brow, straight line across the nose to the brow. It was just wild. And then see Robocop, to see our guy Greg come back with with just viciousness and with the flurry, gets the fight to the ground and just pounds out a very game Chidi Njokuani in the co-main event. Were you like losing your mind? I was losing my mind watching that entire fight because that was insane. And that was a moment that this card needed badly. Like there were some cool fights, but this was like, when we think about this card, we're going to be thinking about that fight.
Yeah. Lately, I've been watching a lot of horror movies at night, but I feel like I've gotten my fill tonight after that one.
You got
singular
sated
fight.
from that?
Yeah, that was a good time. As someone who I'm not squeamish, so I saw that and I'm just like, that's pretty wild. So I'm sure they'll stop the fight. And then it didn't happen. I was like, that's probably gonna stop soon. And then it didn't end. I was like, damn, Greg Kopp is a bad dude. So yeah, good fight.
Greg Kopp.
Greg Rodrigues. Well, I mean, at least we get to see if you could see the actual cut closed up and stitched up. So that's a little bit more of a less gnarly image, Jed. But I mean, you called it, man. You said Gregory Rodrigues would win this fight and cash a dog ticket, but it was looking pretty scary for a minute there.
Casey called it because Casey called TKO in the second round from ground and pound. Casey had it nailed all the way. I thought he was going to tap him in the first. And for like a brief moment, that was maybe true, but instead he had to go through hell because this dude loves to do that. He's middleweight Justin Gaethje. He rules. He is appointment viewing every time out.
Middleweight Justin Gaethje. I like that one.
What
do we do here? We have bonuses, by the way. We have bonuses.
I bet Greg got one.
He was one half of one.
Yeah, I assumed that was the main event.
Oh, well, that definitely should be Friday night. Honestly, you should give Greg performance for that too. Come on, man.
Greg did not get a performance bonus. That was fight of the night. Performance bonuses go to
Damon Jackson for sure.
That's one.
Like if you don't give it to Damon Jackson, you're a bad person. And Joey P.
Joey P. Of course,
Joey
P. could have won a decision. He was getting one, but yeah, he did what he needed to do. Yep, there's your bonuses right there. Damon Jackson, Joe Pyfer, and then Chidi and Greg for their 6.5 minute incredible fight.
I'm okay with that. I would argue that Anthony Hernandez actually deserves it more than Joey P, but
that was a hell of a performance.
Dude, he was awesome. And Joey P killed the worst fighter in the UFC. So, degree of difficulty.
Danielle Wolf didn't fight tonight.
Is she still in the UFC?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Jed, 2 questions. One, will Greg Rodrigues be ranked in your rankings?
100%.
2, who's he fighting next? If you had the magic pencil, what are we doing here?
Let me pull up my rankings and see who feels like. I am definitely giving him the number 15 spot in my rankings just out of respect. I'm not saying that necessarily he deserves it, but like, I've got Anatoly Tokov in here. Like, come on, we could just cut him out of my rankings and put Greg in. After that, like that rules. I'm totally okay with that. And there's a little peek behind the curtains at how rankings actually work. We just make them up however we feel like it. What's DDP doing? Drickus Duplessis.
He's got a fight, dog. Come on. You can read about it on MMAfighting.com. He's fighting Darren Till.
Great website. Yeah, Darren Till.
Oh, okay. So have him fight DDP because we all know Darren Till's not going to make it to a fight. That's like, what you said he has a fight, and then you said Darren Till. So let's do Drickus Duplessis. I feel good about that one.
All right. Bill Algeo.
I'm also cool with. Wait, was Sean Strickland the one who pulled out of the Cannonier fight, or was Cannonier the one?
They rebooked that fight.
Oh, they ended up actually rebooking it. Well,
17th.
Yeah,
December 17th.
back to DDP then.
Yes, you could find that one also at MMAfighting.com. Great website.
It's a great.
Jose, what you think? We featured about Andre Fili. Speaking of emotional wins, it was a very emotional win for Andre Fili. Looked great in that third round. One judge actually scored the third round for Bill Algeo because Bill, despite his back being taken for almost the entire round and almost submitted multiple times, he was landing some strikes. A judge actually gave that round to Bill Algeo. Andre Fili was pretty pissed off about that. F that judge, but Fili comes back and gets a big win over a very tough guy. What did you think of Andre Fili's performance, especially now knowing, man, what this guy's been going through leading into this fight?
Yeah, it looked like he clearly didn't. Like, Andre Fili is a super dynamic, exciting fighter, and he puts himself in a lot of risky predicaments that have come back to bite him. Like the Bryce Mitchell fight, he was being real dynamic, and Bryce Mitchell just kind of held him down. I can't remember who he lost in his last fight, but he just kind of got caught. And this fight, he just seemed more measured. Like, the first round was tight, but after that, Fili kind of put it together. I don't quite understand. Like, I get, like, from the outside looking in, you see Bill Algeo just punching Andre Fili a lot off his back, but Andre Fili was just like, all right, I'm just going to stay here and try to submit you 3 or 4 times. So I don't quite understand how a professional judge could give that away, especially because when you're watching a fight cage side, it is very hard to see angles that we get through a television. So if you're watching it on a monitor, fine. But if you're watching a cage side, I don't quite understand it. But yeah, Andre Fili didn't look like he was going to blow the doors off of anyone, but he definitely put a perfect game plan together for specifically Bill Algeo, and he looked great. I fully expect him moving forward to just every single fight just get better and better and better like he did, and eventually be in the top 15, because like we've all heard the stories of Andre Fili. He's very clearly a top 15 featherweight in the UFC. Sometimes he gets caught or he stumbles at the goal line, and I'm very, very excited to see who he's matched up with, because featherweight is awesome. And at one point, he was on this fantastic run, and I think he ran into, who did he run into? Sadiq Youssef? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and that fight was really good. And we see what Sadiq Youssef is doing now. So Andre Fili fights the best and beats the guys that aren't quite on his level, and he beats the guys that are even better than him at some points too. So I'm excited to see what he does moving forward.
Yes, it was that, and a lot of people actually thought Andre Fili won that fight. Then he beats Charles
really close.
Jourdain. And then he has to fight Bryce Mitchell. The Daniel Pineda fight, he looked probably the best he's ever looked. And then accidental eye poke.
That sucks so much, because even Daniel Pineda was like, that dude was effing me up. So I count that as a win.
Yeah, and then Joe Anderson Brito is a tough fight for anybody, and then comes back with the win here. Jed, do we just do the 2 feel-good stories here next? Do we do Andre Fili versus Damon Jackson, the greatest BTL performer maybe of all time, because he beat Sean Al-Shadi while jogging on a treadmill for the entirety of the show?
I mean, that will remain impressive. I am not confident I want to call that a feel-good story, just because I don't. It's way better that he won, obviously, but man, nothing about
I know
that
what you mean.
Yeah, it's just, I had no idea until the broadcast, and that is, I genuinely can't imagine losing a sibling and then still going through fight week and doing it. Like, I don't understand that at all. So nothing but respect for that dude. And he fought exactly like I would have imagined if you told me, as they did, what had happened. Like, that dude you could put Brock Lesnar in against him. He's going to beat the hell out of that dude. It does not matter tonight. Yeah, it wasn't feel good, but it was affecting. It was emotionally affecting, certainly.
Yeah. You just watch the man exercise as many demons as possible in there. It's like he just let it all out as much as he could. Obviously, that'll never leave him, but for that moment, he was able to let go. And you saw
his whole family do it too.
Yeah.
Like, his whole family is there and doing it too, and that is like, as the super wild.
Yeah, definitely deserve that bonus. Well done. Let's just run down the rest of the main card. We mentioned Joe Pyfer. Rodrigo Nascimento beats Tanner Bozer. Trip to Splitty City. Anthony Hernandez, outstanding performance. This guy gets better and better. Can't wait to matchmake for him tomorrow.
I think Anthony Hernandez should fight Gregory Rodrigues.
That'd be
It's a
fun.
fine fight. It's quite a fun fight.
As soon as Gregory won, I'm like, that's the fight I want to see.
Yeah, Tony and Greg, that'd be a good one. Trevin Giles beats Louis Cosi, and
Honestly, that might
a
happen.
fight we're probably not going to be talking about anymore.
No.
Loma Lookboonmee, another story of somebody
fight.
who's overcome a lot in between her most recent performance to her win over Denise Gomez. Trey Ogden beats Daniel Zellhuber, who just didn't really show up tonight, if we're being honest, but Trey took advantage of that. Gillian Robertson, I want to talk about this. One of the most violent rear naked choke submissions you'll ever see, Jose. You never, you see fights it's the nap or tap kind of a thing. And Maria did like neither of those things in a weird way. It looked like it looked like Gillian Robertson turned her into a zombie after this fight. It was kind of scary. It was very weird to watch.
Yeah, she made Maria Gabova forget how to fight. That's pretty much what happened. Gillian Robertson is one of those fighters where she's either going to kill you or you're just going to have to kind of edge out a decision. I know Macy Barber finished her on the feet, but Gillian Robertson didn't go down. The referee stopped that while Macy Barber was just kind of teeing off on her. I think that was in the Boston card we were at, if I remember correctly, Mike. But other than that, she Barber, off the top of my head, she has like the most finish wins in UFC flyweight women's history, the most submission wins in all of UFC women's history, regardless of weight class. The most, which obviously means she had the most efficient submission wins in the flyweight division. And I don't know if she has the most, but she might have the second, or maybe even tied for just the most fights in general in the flyweight division's history. So Gillian Roberts, and I think there was like a suspension somewhere in there for like marijuana at some point, which is a little weird. So she's missed a big chunk of time and she still has all these records. So I think Gillian is one of these fighters that you're either like I said, she's either going to get edged out on the scorecards or she's going to just kill you in there. And I think she is a supremely exciting fighter and just one of the better offensive submission fighters in the women's divisions, regardless of weight class.
And then last name I wanted to bring up before we go to the peeps, Javid Basharat. This guy's really good because Tony Gravely is a very solid 135er. And I thought Javid won I thought he won all 3 rounds. You want to give Tony the first, I'm okay with that. But I thought Basharat won all 3 rounds. And this guy's going to be a problem at 135. Yeah. He's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, he's a really good fighter, man. I gave Gravely the first. If you wanted to give it to Basharat, that's okay. But Basharat, the thing is, he's a really good fighter. I think he's going to be an even better fighter when he starts getting 25s, like just the way he fights, the adjustments he makes, just how he kind of builds layers on top of layers of offense. I think that's going to really do well as he has more time to develop. More fighters should get to fight 25 minutes. It would be really cool. And when he becomes one of those, I'm really excited to see what that looks like.
Agreed. And then good win for Nicholas Moda to kick things off with the first round finish. So we'll take a few questions from the peeps. We're not going to go much.
Poor Nicholas Moda. No 50K for him.
No 50K for him. We'll take a few questions because obviously we do not want to keep our wonderful combat sports fans away from the biggest fight of the weekend, which is about to kick off in about 10 to 13 minutes.
We still got 4 rounds in the co-main.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
You could go.
We'll get there.
And while you wait, you can go listen to MMA Fighting's preview show of Canelo versus Triple G on the Podcast Network, starring José Youngs and Jed Meshew.
So I saw a report. I think Canelo is making a guaranteed $55 million.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And Triple G is making a guaranteed $20 million. And Nicholas.
So don't watch it.
Yeah.
Don't watch it, guys. They are not motivated to fight.
Yeah.
And they're not hungry or interested.
The pay-per-view is $85.
And it's gonna kill it. It's gonna do over 2 million buys.
Yeah. Also, Logan Paul is on it right now, so that's exciting if you're into that kind of thing.
Just in the commentary, or
he's talking to whoever the dude is with the microphone that's not cage side, but the like Heidi Androl sort of thing.
This is what it's because Canelo is the biggest box office draw in combat sports. This is like everyone rolls out for him.
I don't know why. He's not motivated to fight. $55 million.
And
He
he
doesn't care.
keeps running away from opponents, from what I've been told.
Hopefully Rodrigo Nascimento was given a ticket into the building because that's all he asked for. He didn't ask for a bonus. He asked for a ticket to Triple G Canelo.
He
So
deserved the hell out of it. Go give him that. Do that.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's still rather depressing, right? When these
It's
fighters
depressing literally every fight week.
I kind of forgot about Nicholas Mota thing when he was talking the story of
His whole backstage thing was horribly sad.
I was like, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe UFC will let them watch the pay-per-view for free in the green room. I don't know.
That seems unlikely.
No, you're not allowed to stay in the
kick
green
him
room.
out
They
now?
kicked
Yeah, don't
his
they
ass
just kick
out
him
of
out?
there.
Yeah. All right.
They did his.
Back to the mixed martial arts.
Bam Bam's kind of putting it on Gonzalez,
Hold on, sorry, make this bigger for you guys.
by the way.
The question from Rich P Top Tier: what is Song Yadong's ceiling ultimately? Will he be a champion in his career? So it's important to know for those who are not aware, Song Yadong is only 24 years old. He's going to be 25 in December. This dude's got a long way to go. What would you rate his chances on a scale 1 to 10, Jose? I know it's hard to forecast next fights and things like that, especially in this division, but if someone handed you $50 right now and said you can only use this $50 on betting on whether or not Song Yadong will be a UFC champion, what would you put it on?
Being champion? Wow, that's really tough.
Point.
That's tough. This division is so good right now, and he's so young. Like, I don't think he's going to be champion in the next year or two, but you want to tell me in 5 years Song Yadong is going to be bantamweight champion of the world? I'll say, okay, yeah, sure. So if you give me in 5 years he will be, sure, why not? You won't even be 30 in 5 years. You can't even rent a car. Like, you can't even rent a car and drive somewhere right now.
Will Song Yadong be a champion, Jed, before his UFC career is over and done with, which probably won't be for another 8 to 10 years at this point?
I'm trying to look and see who I can comp him to. If I have to make a bet, yes or no, no. But his ceiling is champion. Like that is he can be a champion. He has the opportunity to do so. I mean, he is not like a world beating athlete, but he is a very plus athlete. He has a plus skill set in that he hits people extremely hard, and he's showing some layers to his game. He needs to add a lot, but good takedown defense, hits pretty well, works in combination, okay defense in general. There are a lot of tools there to build on. I can't honestly think of anyone that like is immediately jumping to mind that's like a super comp for him. And so it's tough for me to be like, oh yeah, here's what his career as champion looks like. Like maybe the closest I can come is Davison Figueiredo, honestly. But I think Figgy's a better athlete compared to division than Song is. And I put a lot of stock in athleticism as kind of the decider in who gets to have a belt and who doesn't. So I think he will fight for one. I will bet happily that he will fight for a belt before his career is done. I don't think he'll win one, but I think that is within the realm of possibility.
He's also not the shortest bantamweight. Like, he's pretty average size for bantamweight. He's also taller than Volkanovski. So I think eventually at 20, he's 24 now. Eventually, I think he's gonna have to go up to featherweight.
At some point, he probably. I just have no idea what he cuts now, and it's really tough to gauge because Cory's so
like
big.
you see Andre Fili, who's like super tall for featherweight, and then Song Yadong is much shorter than him.
Yeah, it's I assume that he won't just because there are very few fighters that I'm like that dude's gonna hold a belt, but it is very much in play for him.
Yeah, I think he is. I think the road will be built for him to get to a title shot. It's just on him. He will have his chance. I will say that. Whether or not he
he's
wins
kind
it,
of Josh Emmett. It's a little Josh Emmett.
Yeah, a younger version of Josh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously
yes,
Josh is like 50.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah, he's. That's actually a pretty good comparison.
I'm gonna put this name out there, and I'm not trying to shit on him or anything, but like, Would
let's
this
do it.
Song Yadong beat prime Cody Garbrandt, who was a UFC champion?
Yes. Not even close.
See, that's
I
what's
think he-
crazy.
I-
Like
I think
like
he
how
blows
much
his load
better
off.
the bantamweight division is right now. That Song Yadong, Cody Garbrandt was freaking champion, and Song Yadong is what top? Was he top?
I don't
10?
even like. I think
I know.
Cody, like, because Cody was like the Cody that fought Dominic Cruz to win the belt had. Oh man, who was in his corner? Can't believe I'm blanking. Justin Buchholz, who has basically prepared like a dozen fighters to fight Dominic Cruz, and then eventually they all put it together, and Cody Garbrandt just fought fight. And Dominic Cruz had done back-to-back 5-round fight camps in the span of like 10 months. And then I think there was a lot of factors that I think Cody Garbrandt wins that night 10 out of 10 times. But if Cody fought TJ that night, like if TJ was the champion, I think TJ would have beaten Cody Garbrandt, if that makes sense.
And
I
this
think
is why
that was just a perfect storm.
And that's why I think Song. That's why I think as good as Song is. This is why I think he won't be champion because he doesn't. I hate even getting this argument. But he doesn't move the needle enough.
Yeah,
And Cody did, and that's why Cody got into the position to even.
Cody definitely moves the needle.
So I agree with that.
Do
Also,
you know what I'm trying to say? I think Cody's got this. I think Song has a skill level to be champion. I just don't think he has the marketability to.
I think you're
kind of,
vastly underestimating the fact that Song Yadong is Chinese, and the UFC is very interested in having Chinese champions.
This is true.
That's Wiley Zhang. I would not say Wiley Zhang is like
because let's
the
not forget
biggest needle mover ever, but they're going to throw her infinite title shots because they are invested in this.
And let's not forget when Weili fought Jessica Andrade the first time, she was like their third option.
Yeah,
the others, like the people above her, just weren't ready. And then now and then after that, Tom Brady's tweeting about her. She's going to flown to Patriots games.
And the UFC did just originally put Leach as the co-main event on a pay-per-view, which we kind of questioned, but I was wondering, maybe we just don't know Leach's marketability out because we're just seeing this from an American point of view.
I have no idea what the market.
I don't know the answer. So
I think that they're going to be behind Song. Okay. I agree that he has like a ceiling in certainly in the American silo of audience, but I think they're clearly trying to be in the
China's about to have a champion after November 13th, so
yeah.
So I mean that's true. And I agree with Jose too. Like Cody Garbrandt had a very unique title, which is so I think he's one of
one fair and square, and that was so far from a close fight.
And I think he wins that fight like 9 times out of 10 over Dominic Cruz. I also just think that like we then saw pretty clearly that if you can hit very hard, there's a really good chance you're going to knock Cody Garbrandt out. And for whatever Song Yadong's faults are, it ain't chin. That dude is tougher than a $2 steak. If Cody Garbrandt wants to get in a hooking contest with that man, he's going boom first.
Oh, man.
I agree.
In the early round songs, like his left hook was like,
dude, it's so fast.
Ooh, so fast.
So sharp.
And that's why Cody. That's the only one I scored for Song because he just Cory Sandhagen literally fell like backwards from blocking.
Yeah, and that's why Cory's such a good fighter. He was like, I gotta wrestle this guy. I don't have to take him down, but I have to get him tired because those hooks are dangerous.
And just disrupted his rhythm. The wrestling was great.
Yeah, I thought DC did a good job on talking about the effectiveness of just non-effective wrestling. Because you think, if you don't get the takedown, it didn't work. But it does work. Just to threat the takedown. I think that's very important. I thought DC did a good job pointing that out repeatedly.
He's been way better in the booth, honestly, since Dominic Cruz called him out. And I know that they beefed but didn't beef, but I actively think he's been better. Can we also talk for just a moment? Because I'm happy. We're all doing all the happiness. Cory Sandhagen, I don't know what the hell your deal is, dude, but you can't give your back to stand up. Like, you just can't do it. That's what Algeo killed you. Like, literally, that is why Algeo killed you.
I saw that. Yeah.
And you do that. He did it twice against Song.
Twice?
He didn't get he did it in both the first and the second, and he didn't get punished. Or maybe it was 1 and 3. Yeah. And, he almost got punished really badly in the first one. And the second one, the Song was already bleeding in the whole thing. Like, if your go-to stand-up is to post head and turn your whole back and run away, Sterling will do exactly the same thing, and you will get throttled to death immediately. I don't know who the hell taught you that. Please stop doing it. It was giving me conniptions watching it.
It is a bad habit. It definitely is
It's
a bad
an
habit.
awful habit.
That I think he gets away with in the gym. He didn't get away with it. Yeah, he gets away with it in the gym.
It very much feels like it's the thing he gets away with in the gym, and that's why Algeo Sterling is like, cool, man. You just want me to have your back? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll spend the rest of the round or just choke you out. Ask Piotr Jan.
Let's talk about another good performance that arguably deserved a bonus. You talked about it a little bit, but I think it deserves a little bit more.
How impressed you with Fluffy's grappling? I thought I was watching Cain Velasquez in there. I mean, just the fight with Josh Fremd was incredible too. Like the pace both those guys put on was great, but Fluffy's getting better every single fight. I thought he looked spectacular tonight. I would like to see him. I don't know if I'm ready to throw him in there. I don't know if he's top 15 in our list, but I have somebody in mind that's probably just outside our top 15, but would be a super fun fight for both guys. What did you think, Jose? Because Fluffy's getting better and better. Fluffy's getting better and better every time we see him.
Yeah, and he reminds me of who's that cat? And he reminds me, his manner about and the way he approaches fighting reminds me a lot of Henry Corrales in Bellator, where he just kind of answers the phone and just says, "Who am I fighting?" All right, and then he just kind of shows up. He don't care about no rankings or styles of fights or whoever. He's just like, cool, and tape up my ears, and I'm gonna break brick inside the octagon. I'm definitely not ready to put in top 15 because I think who's 15 in our ranking? Dricus du Plessis, last I saw.
That might be right. Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I'm not ready to put him above Anthony. I'm not ready to put Anthony Hernandez above Dricus du Plessis just yet. I think eventually
it is DDP.
Yeah, and if DDP is the 15th, I'm not putting Greg Kopp in the top 15 either, just yet, which is why I'd like to see that fight. But yeah, Anthony Hernandez is a fun dude. That win over Rodolfo Vieira has kind of aged like milk. I know at the time it kind of blew my mind, and I still stand by the fact that was my submission of the year when it happened. Yeah. I still agree with that, but Rodolfo Vieira has he's 1-1 in his last 2 fights since then, if I remember correctly, and Chris Curtis just kind of took his soul with his cardio. So yeah, but Anthony Hernandez is a guy that I'm gonna, when we do preview shows and you say what's a low key banger, the answer is probably gonna be Anthony Hernandez if he's one half of a fight.
Anthony Hernandez versus Phil Hawes. Is that interesting to you?
Sure.
Phil's fighting.
Oh, he has a fight? Never mind.
Who's he fighting? He's fighting somebody.
Okay, never mind.
I have a better one.
Okay,
I have a better one.
No, I was never big on Fluffy Hernandez. I thought the age like milk kind of thing. I kind of agree with that. But he is improving. He is a much better fighter, I feel like, and I've changed my opinion on Anthony Hernandez. I do want to see
Walking Buckley would be a fun fight too, or Gerald Meerschaert if you just want some high level scrambles.
Gerald Meerschaert, yeah, cool. And
because Gerald Meerschaert seems down the clown with anyone too,
yeah.
And I really like those style of fights.
He is.
Phil Hawes. I mean, listen, if something happens with Roman Dolidze, just call Fluffy. He'll go in there and fight Phil Hawes October 29th.
Cool.
There you go.
And since we have some
do
boxing
one more,
to watch,
maybe.
So we got one more question. I think it's an interesting one.
Should the last 2 fights have been stopped sooner before they did? Any other commission would have stopped it the moment it impacted the fighters.
I don't know about the second part, but
yeah, I don't quite know.
I don't think the second part's true.
But
yeah,
would we have been okay with a stoppage after the first round on each fight, pretty much?
I wouldn't have complained. No.
I think it was the second round for the main event.
Okay. Well, okay, but after the initial big cut.
Yeah. I would have had no issue in the Greg fight if you had stopped it, though I think it probably was right, and maybe this is hindsight, Greg won, but like I am not sure that was really affecting him that badly from like a permanent damage standpoint. But if you had stopped it, obviously it's fine. I do think they shouldn't have let Song go out for the 4th. I was really surprised they did. If they had let it start in the 5th, that would have been really bad. I think they should have stopped it. And you're talking to, again, a dude who cashed a plus $2,500 ticket because they let it go to the 4th. I just don't think that. I think they should have stopped it at 3. That cut was really, really bad. It was clearly bleeding directly into his eyes.
Yeah. I'm actually okay with the doctor. Well, it was the same doctor. I'm okay with the doctor's non-stop.
He was consistent.
He was consistent, and that's
I respect that he was consistent.
I appreciate it. And I don't. I had like I remember there was some diagram, but the doctors put out. But like, I know they're really worried about nerve damage, and there's certain points that are cuts in the face that they may not look bad, but there's like considerable serious nerve damage that may get permanent droopy eye. But I can't really speak too much on that. So, but yeah, I liked it, and I thought that I'm really happy the doctor did not let the fight go to the 5th round. I know Cory looked kind of bummed. I think he thought that he was going to get this is going to be a BS victory, but I think we all think this is a legit victory. I don't think anyone thinks this is a BS cut victory. I don't know.
Oh God, no.
Okay, no. But you know, I feel like when the fight ended, Cory had that impression. Oh, people are gonna. It's not a real victory, but. I
just think that's who Cory is as a human being and a fighter. He's just like, I wanted to see. Even said it. He goes, I wanted to go out in the 5th round, and I wanted to see how it was. He wanted to see what the scorecards are like, and he would have been. I don't know. I don't know how he would have reacted.
Just great job of UFC production. We got to hear Cory speak out loud and motivate him. It wasn't the coaches, but I think it was coming out into the 5th round. It was Cory motivating himself. He was like, be smart. Don't get hit with something big. Is that right? Is that what Cory was saying? Coming out into the 5th round.
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, but they were listening to the corners and they had it on him, and it was just him talking to himself. I thought that was just fantastic. It's like, man, what great insight.
Everyone on the UFC production team is really good at their job. Like I think like the last few years they've really set like Bellator. I don't get me started. BKFC don't even get me started on their production quality, but like UFC does a great job.
Yeah. I'll shit on UFC fighter pay and all that stuff forever, but I will not shit on UFC production. Especially live production, the lighting, the sound, perfect. It's a great job. Anything else, gentlemen?
I think we can hit the music. I think we're good.
Cory Sandhagen, call out fighters, man. Just
Chito Vera said if he wants it, he can get it on Twitter.
He did, and that's cool. It would have been a lot cooler if Cory actually called for that fight instead of like, I don't really care. Give me any of these 5 dudes. Like, just you don't have to get Merab now. You don't have to talk shit. Like, you don't have to be that guy. Just have a guy.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what. I'll bet money. You want to bet right now? I'll make a bet with you, Jed. Cory Sandhagen, Marlon Vera is gonna headline that Orlando fight night in December for sure. I'll bet money on that.
Probably just because Marlon said he's down to clown, but like, what if Chito's just like, no, then that fight doesn't happen, and instead Cory has to fight Merab and get tackled for 25.
Nah, I don't think Merab's gonna fight. I don't think Merab's fighting in. I don't think Merab's fighting Cory Sandhagen.
It's you don't have to talk shit. You don't have to be like, I'm going to kill you. You just have to say the name you want. Be the author of your own fate. You are doing this as a professional fighter, man. Like, have a name. We've been saying it for years. Just have the name. Because if you speak it into existence, it can come true. And
but you know what never happens? You know what never happens? We never get the fights that people call for. Ever. Ever. If he goes, I'm going to fight Chito Vera, he's definitely going to fight Merab instead. Happens every time.
I don't know, man. Chito Vera's literally cage side, and you can just be like, I want to fight that dude, and Chito's down to clown. And then there we go. We're ready. It's booked. Just you don't have to even be good at it doing yourself. Have somebody in your corner be like, hey, man, here's the name. We're good. DM me. My DMs are open, Cory. I will tell you to call out next time.
All right. I mean, we can't top that. So, all right, we are done. The UFC is also done for another week, and they're back October 1st. That's the card headlined by Mackenzie Dern and Jan Jonah. We got a week off next week. We got a week off.
Big fight card.
Guess what? And then guess what? Another week off. and then it's on to UFC 280.
Well,
but don't worry,
I don't got a week off. I'm going to be in an airplane for 19 hours.
Oh, yeah.
But Bellator's back next week. Peter Queally versus Benson Henderson.
That's their Ireland. That's their Ireland card.
Yeah. Yoel Romero versus Melvin Manhoof.
Oh.
That's happening, folks. That fight is actually happening next week. So there you go. At least there'll be some mixing of the martial arts for your viewing pleasure. But
why are we
go ahead, get ready. Triple G versus Canelo going down in a matter of moments. So enjoy it, everybody. For Jose, for Jed, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching. Happy birthday, AK. Boxing starting soon.
Happy National Batman Day, more importantly. And happy beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, y'all.
That's right.
Happy the second.
In that order, AK's third most important in that list of days.
Fourth.
Good night,
Fourth.
Sure.
Fifth.